8 years back, 10-year-old Turan first discovered the extraordinary gift coursing through his veins. Within his home, objects danced in the air, but his mother's reaction was pure horror, not pride. She demanded he stop instantly, then asked with chilling calmness if he truly cherished their life together. To protect their peaceful bond, she forced him to swear a solemn oath never use those powers again. He was forbidden from ever showcasing his magic. Confused, Turan questioned why he had to hide his true self. She countered with a legendary tale of nobles and knights, asking if he recalled the history. In this world, anyone wielding such supernatural forces is branded a wizard, regardless of their social standing. Yet a rift exists. Nobles claim divine blood, descendants of the Freons who once descended to save humanity. Conversely, knights are merely the diluted offspring of nobles, whose sacred bloodlines intermingled with common humans. This blood hierarchy creates a massive divide even among magic users. His mother then dropped a bombshell. His forbidden abilities were inherited from his father, a mere knight, not a high-ranking noble. Cruel nobles beyond their borders hunt knights to use as slaves, making his secrecy a matter of survival. He had to bury his identity forever. Fast forward 8 years and Turan still carries that heavy burden. He hasn't faltered once. Revealing his wizard status is the last thing on his mind. Turan avoids the village entirely, staying high in the mountains while local kids play pretend below. The children mimic battles between sorcerers and beasts until the local celebrity Grandpa Robus interrupts their game. When a boy asks how to gain magic, Robus crushes his dreams, explaining it's not about willpower. He describes wizards as the pinnacle of human existence, elite nobles and knights ruling from the shadows. Magic is an inherited legacy of the blood. Unfortunately, these common village kids have zero chance of ascending. A bystander winces at the old man's bluntness before delivering terrifying news a monster has surfaced nearby. Robus nods gravely. A villager named Rob barely survived an encounter with the beast the previous night. It's a massive, shadow-drenched leopard, as large as a mansion, but Robus tells the crowd to stay calm. The chief has already journeyed to the capital to hire a professional wizard to exterminate the threat. Relief washes over the crowd as they warn the children to steer clear of the darkening woods. For a normal human facing such a nightmare is suicide. Only a wizard possesses the power to kill it. As the warning spread, one man asks Robus if the lonely shepherd on the hill knows the danger. Robus confirms the alert reached everyone, then heads up to find Turan lounging amongst his flock. There, Turan is vibing on the hillside, using a fluffy sheep as a makeshift pillow. Staring at the endless blue, he mutters about the soul-crushing boredom of this repetitive mountain life. He worries he'll lose his ability to speak if his only company remains these silent hills. Suddenly, Robus appears, roasting him for being a lazy bum who naps before the sun even dips. Turan doesn't even blink dryly, telling the old man to move because he's killing his sunlight. Robus is appalled by the disrespect, wondering if Turan is still salty about their past drama. Years ago, right after Turan's mom passed, Robus tried a shady move to seize the family sheep. He had attempted to rebrand Turan's private inheritance as shared village property, a total snake move. Turan confirms he hasn't forgotten a thing. He isn't the type to let a grudge go that easily. He has zero intention of being generous with the only legacy his mother left behind. He bluntly reminds Robus they aren't friends, demanding he state his business and beat it. The old man fumes, but one look at Turan's icy eyes makes him swallow his rage instantly. Finally, he reveals the real reason for his visit: a monstrous predator is stalking the area. Robus hypes up the beast's lethality, but Turan just stares back with total unbothered indifference. It's baffling. Despite being the most vulnerable target out here, Turan doesn't show a hint of fear. Robus calls him insanely brave, or maybe just stupid, before mentioning the chief is bringing a wizard. He tries to play the worried elder card, but Turan sees right through the fake concern. Turan scoffs, pointing out that Robus only fears for the sheep's safety, leaving the old man speechless. Turan coldly dismisses him, spitting out insults now that their business is concluded. He mocks the elder's stench, leaving the man to vanish while muttering about terrifying creatures. These beasts wield arcane forces. Just as wizards rule humans, beasts dominate the monster realm. Turan's blood pumps at the thought of meeting a real wizard soon. Yet, he wonders if a backwater village could truly attract a high-tier magic wielder. His curiosity regarding their power lingers until a metallic scent of blood hits his nose. Tracking the crimson trail, he stumbles upon the grisly remains of the old man. The elder who came to warn him had been shredded like wet parchment. Turan remains eerily stoic, noting the irony of the messenger dying before the target. Observing the carnage, he confirms this wasn't a wild animal, it was the monster. Before he can finish his analysis, the predator emerges from the dark tree line. It's a hulking nightmare cloaked in a dark, suffocating aura and primal malice. To normal humans, these monstrosities are walking calamities that are impossible to defeat. Rob's son trembles in terror, but his father swears their salvation is coming. He claims the wizard is invincible and will easily subjugate the beast. Apparently, these sorcerers can erase a monster with just a single whispered word. Facing the beast, Turan doesn't flinch as he utters a cold command: "Die." An invisible shockwave blasts the creature back, yet it refuses to fall. Shocked, his initial strike failed. Turan calculates his next move as the beast pounces. He shouts, "Stop," but the monster barely grazes him in its relentless charge. Panic isn't his style, but the failure of 2 command words is deeply concerning. The creature roars, pivoting instantly for a lethal follow-up strike on our hero. Turan retreats with a graceful leap, deciding it's finally time to get serious. Channeling a shepherd's focus, he readies a stone and magically reinforces its density. He hurls the projectile, instantly chanting a word to skyrocket its velocity. "Pierce," he commands, and the stone erupts with enough force to shatter the air. A massive shockwave ripples through the monster's flesh, but it keeps coming. The beast lunges, unaware that the projectile is curving back like a lethal boomerang. With terrifying precision, the stone tears through the monster's skull from behind. The sheer momentum drops the beast instantly, leaving it dead in the dirt. Turan sighs, tossing the carcass aside while complaining about the villagers' drama. By sunrise, the peace is shattered by a mob of furious, shouting villagers. They hammer at his door, screaming for him to face their judgment immediately. They've arrived to pin Rubus's gruesome murder on the mysterious outsider. Their leader seizes Turan's collar, barking accusations of his utter lack of shame. Turan scoffs easily, seeing through their desperate attempt to find a convenient scapegoat. He mocks the young cowards for letting an old man die while they hid. It's pathetic. They're merely shifting their own guilt onto him to feel better. Enraged, the man swings a heavy fist, but Turan slips the punch effortlessly. A swift headbutt follows, shattering the man's nose in a spray of crimson. Turan smirks inwardly, at the convenience of magic, where every wish costs mana. Another villager charges with a wooden club, desperate to strike the arrogant mage. Trip, Turan whispers, and the man faceplants into the mud instantly. He toys with the mob, ensuring they suffer without actually ending their lives. Effortlessly, Turan disarms the next attacker, snatching the weapon from his grip. Turan slams it into the man's face, effectively using him as a human shield against the incoming mob. Effortlessly, Turan dismantles the group, while meticulously concealing his identity as a powerful mage. After the beatdown, Turan mocks their pathetic attempt, suggesting they should have put that effort into something useful, like organizing the funeral for Robus. After handling the men, Turan shifts his chilling gaze to the ladies. He asks if they want a round, but they immediately surrender, making it clear they want zero smoke. Claiming they only came to pay respects, Turan scoffs, knowing they lack the spine for a real fight. He orders the women to haul the broken men down the mountain before retreating back into his sanctuary. He knows this isn't over. Those snakes will definitely try to scam him after this chaotic showdown. But let them try, he'll just keep swinging until he gets the fair trade he deserves at the village. Turan figures the peace will last now that he's delivered a lesson they won't soon forget. Just as he settles in, a sharp knock echoes, and he rips the door open with pure irritation. Demanding to know who it is, he's stunned to see a stranger who definitely doesn't look local. Turan questions his identity, but the man calmly asks for a simple favor regarding his long journey. Realizing he's being a bit much, Turan quickly softens his tone and offers a formal apology. Explaining the recent uninvited chaos, he internally struggles to maintain a normal, polite, social conversation. Despite his isolated life, his mother's lessons on etiquette push him to treat this newcomer with respect. He invites the wanderer inside, offering his home as a temporary refuge for the weary traveler. Soon, Turan lays out a massive spread, and they begin swapping stories over the hearty meal. Turan explains his social awkwardness, having spent his entire life secluded on this lonely high hill. He's just a simple shepherd, finding it bizarre that any tourist would wander into such a tiny town. The man praises him, impressed that someone raised in total isolation possesses such refined, graceful manners. Turan credits his late mother, though a shadow of grief crosses his face as he mentions her passing. The traveler offers a solemn blessing, comforting Turan with the hope that she is finally at peace. With the ice broken, the two settle into a deep, genuine conversation as the night goes on. Curious, Turan asks what business could possibly bring a man like him to this remote countryside. The stranger reveals he's here on a high-stakes contract to hunt down a dangerous local monster. He drops the bomb, he's a wizard. Turan freezes, realizing this man is the legendary Robus himself. Robus then leans in with a question, and Turan cautiously gives him the green light to proceed. The wizard admits he can sense a beast's presence nearby, yet the creature remains completely invisible. He finds it suspicious how calm Turan remains even while fully aware of the danger lurking nearby. Most would be trembling, yet Turan shows zero fear, despite being the monster's most logical target. Robus notes that he possesses extraordinary courage for a humble shepherd who has never left his village. The air grows heavy as the wizard asks point blank if Turan is actually a secret mage. Panic flares as Turan's mind races back to his mother's dire warnings about being discovered. She had warned him that nobles are like shepherds and mages are nothing more than their tools. Knights are merely hunting dogs. They might receive affection, but they are always expendable in the end. She begged him to avoid that life, fearing he'd be sacrificed the moment his usefulness ran dry. Her final command was absolute: never let anyone, especially another wizard, know the truth of his power. If the Magic Council found him, they would snatch him away, severing their bond forever. He would become a mere pawn, a disposable hound kept on a leash by the powerful. She even warned him that to protect his secret, he might one day have to take a life. In this tense moment, Turan contemplates that dark path, while his face turns into a mask of stone. Sensing the killing intent, the wizard quickly laughs it off, trying to shatter the deadly atmosphere. He claims it was just a joke, though Turan's icy glare suggests the damage is already done. Turan exhales and apologizes, blaming his lack of humor, while Robus regrets pushing the shepherd so far. Turan grins, admitting he never expected a wizard to actually have such a witty sense of humor. That punchline caught him completely off guard. Suddenly, the wizard realizes they haven't even introduced themselves yet. He introduces himself as Kiorn, a simple wanderer. They lock hands in a firm grip as Turan shares his identity. Turan reveals he is turning 18 this year, while Kiorn casually mentions he is already 75 years old. Shock hits Turan, the man doesn't look a day over 40. Kiorn just shrugs, explaining that mages age differently. We live much longer too, he adds. Intrigued, Turan asks why a powerful man chose the nomad life. After 60 years of serving the elite Arpian house, Kiorn simply decided it was time to roam free. Time slips away as they dive into deep talk, leaving Turan stunned by their instant, effortless connection. He can't believe he's vibing this hard with a stranger, only noticing the sun has already fully set. Kiorn announces it's time to head out, sliding a shiny Arpian silver onto the table as payment. It is more than enough for the food. Turan takes the coin, offering a sincere good luck to his guest. Kiorn tells him not to get all emotional, this isn't a final goodbye. He might just swing by again. Sunrise finds Turan back in the fields with his flock, feeling a brand new surge of vibrant energy. Meeting a real mage and having such a chill, genuine conversation has left him feeling totally refreshed. Honestly, Kiorn has a better sense of humor than any other grown-up Turan has ever encountered. Kiorn even returned with fresh prey from his hunt, proving to Turan that he is a legit good guy. He'd always pictured high-ranking warriors as soulless tools for the elite. Now, he's completely questioning those old assumptions. Dusk falls as Kiorn scouts the woods, quickly spotting the unmistakable violent scars of a recent struggle. He eyes a stone, embedded deep in a trunk, surrounded by trees that were sliced like paper. Has the beast already been put down? He can't help but wonder what kind of hunter did this. Did the chief hire another mage? Either way, he feels a massive wave of relief wash over him. If the threat is neutralized, the village is finally safe, and that's all that really matters to him. Suddenly, a foul stench hits his nostrils. He spins around, and his blood runs cold at the sight. The very leopard beast Turan killed is stalking toward him. But things just got way more complicated. The creature has mutated into a terrifying wraith. Kiorn loses it. He totally didn't see this nightmare coming. Before he can process the horror, the beast lunges. He's forced to leap back in a desperate dodge. See, if you slay a monster but fail to absorb its mana, it risks becoming a vengeful wraith. This is Basic Mage 101. Kiorn assumes every half-decent caster should know this fundamental rule. The beast charges again, but Kiorn vaults into the air, barely staying out of those lethal ghostly claws. Whoever took this thing down was definitely a mage, but why on earth would they leave it behind? Could it be a total rookie? He tries to shake the thought that seems impossible, given the raw power. No way a beginner could have soloed a beast this high level. The math just doesn't add up. Kiorn realizes he has to end this now. He summons a glowing magic arrow and lets it fly. To his absolute horror, the spell just vanishes. Kiorn freezes. This can only mean one terrifying thing. This ghost's mana completely dwarfs his own. Suddenly, the monster blurs and vanishes right before his eyes. Panic sets in. He has no idea where the next strike is coming from or what it wants. Suddenly, it's behind him. A massive claw swipes through the air, and Kiorn barely twists away in time. Steel-sharp claws draw blood. It's then he realizes he's dealing with a truly top-tier legendary beast. Analyzing the threat, he realizes only a high-ranked noble warrior would even hope to survive this clash. Cold sweat pours down his face. Stumbling into a monster this cracked was never part of the plan. Realizing he's cornered, Kiorn accepts his end, but he refuses to go down without taking this thing with him. Preparing for a suicide strike, he begins channeling every last drop of his mana into his palm. The beast lunges exactly as he expected. Without hesitation, Kiorn throws himself headfirst into the jaws of death. He's ready to die for the kill, but just before impact, a blinding flash of light erupts. A beam of pure power shreds the beast in one shot. Kiorn collapses his face, a mask of disbelief. Suddenly, a familiar voice calls out, checking if he's all right. Kiorn spins around, eyes wide with disbelief. He can't wrap his head around Turan being a secret mage. Turan confirms it. Kiorn demands to know why he kept it hidden. Turan goes dead silent. Rephrasing, Kiorn asks the real question. Why bother helping him at all? Since Turan could have just walked away, he decides to reveal his truth. He recalls, after Kiorn returned with his hunt, Turan had mocked him, asking why he was trying to play the hero. He could be making bank with those skills. Instead, Kion argues that the villagers deserve better. Abandoned on the frontier without any defense, Turan points out that their suffering isn't Kion's burden to carry, but Kion counters that he's a wizard, an inheritor of a god's divine strength. He feels obligated to shield the weak. He admits, though, that not every mage shares his sense of duty. Everyone chooses their own path. Back in the present, Turan echoes those exact words to Kion. Each person has their own way of living. Suddenly, the beast lunges for another kill. They narrowly dodge the lethal strike. Panting, Kion warns that this nightmare is way out of their league. Only a high-ranking noble could survive this. Turan barks at Kion to get moving. Run to the chief and evacuate the village. Turan will stay behind to keep the monster busy. Kion's gut tells him Turan is doomed, but he's forced to play his part in this desperate plan. Turan stops him, saying there's no need to stress if his previous strike actually connected. Kion freezes. Turan was basically admitting that his last attack was just him holding back. It's insane. Turan is operating on a level that rivals or even eclipses the most powerful nobles. Kion watches in awe as Turan begins drawing in raw mana, prepping for a catastrophic finishing move. That's when it hits him. He's standing next to a wizard capable of shattering the entire world. Mana overflows as Turan decides to cut loose. He's itching to see exactly where his limits lie. He telekinetically gathers stones, turning them into high-speed projectiles. Kion shouts a warning. He won't let Turan face this wraith alone. No matter how cracked his talent is, this enemy is built different. They need to tag team it, or so he thought, until Turan's first wave of magic erupts. The sheer lethality is terrifying. Kion realizes he'd only be a distraction. There's only one thing he can do. Support Turan so his genius can truly shine. The explosion is massive, but the wraith is still standing. Turan is stunned. Kion explains that physical force won't put a wraith in the grave. Turan asks for the secret to killing it. Kion's answer is simple: use fire or lightning. Turan tries to incinerate it but fails. Kion realizes he's missing the fundamental technique. He's baffled. How can someone this powerful lack the most basic common sense of a mage? Channeling power into a living target requires a specific mandatory process. A chilling thought strikes Kion. Turan might be the one who killed the original beast, creating this wraith. The wraith goes berserk trying to reach Turan, but Kion finally connects the dots. Turan has literally never absorbed mana in his entire life. Kion yells at him to stop just lighting fires. He needs to manifest the flame and then launch it. Turan nods, sparking a blaze in his palm. Any mage can make a spark, but controlling the inferno takes years of specialized training. Yet Kion's jaw drops as Turan conjures a massive fireball without breaking a single sweat. Turan hurls the flames. The moment it touches the wraith, the monster begins screaming in pure agony. Kion urges him to pump more mana in. He has to incinerate every single atom of that thing. With a cold, calm expression, Turan maintains the heat until the wraith is reduced to absolutely nothing. Kion is reeling. They just took down a nightmare that usually requires an entire noble squad. A mountain shepherd just soloed a high-rank threat. Turan asks if it's over. Kion tells him to absorb the mana. Unless he wants a round 2, he has to drain it. Turan is confused, so Kion explains the method. He just needs to visualize drawing the energy deep inside himself. Turan reaches out his hand to try. Instantly, the dark mana swirls out of the carcass and flows directly into Turan's body. Kion speaks up. A wave of pure euphoria washes over him, and Turan admits he didn't buy it at first. Kion is forced to ask, "Is this truly your first time absorbing mana?" Turan nods. Usually after the initial awakening, power trickles in slowly with age. To truly ascend, one must hunt monsters or wizards and devour their essence. Yet despite this being Turan's debut absorption, his control over such high-level magic is absolutely terrifying. This isn't just talent. Turan's potential is off the charts. Suddenly, Kion breaks the silence, calling his name. He offers a sincere apology before inquiring about Turan's lineage. Turan simply gestures toward Kion's mangled, bleeding arm. Kion blinks, caught off guard by the concern. Back at the cottage, Turan meticulously cleans and bandages the wound. Kion sighs, apologizing for the intense pressure. But Turan shuts him down, repeating what he said 1,000 times. He isn't some high-born elite. He's a lowly shepherd who doesn't even know his own father's face. Why would a titan like you herd sheep? Kion wonders. He quickly clarifies that he isn't trying to look down. This life simply doesn't fit his power. Turan reveals the truth his mother begged him to stay hidden and humble. She believed nobles treat mages like disposable tools. Hearing this, Kion's expression softens. She was wise, he admits. Turan's eyes widen. He fully expected Kion to mock her for being overbearing or paranoid. No, she was right, Kion insists. Great power is a magnet for chaos and bloody conflicts. Years ago, a brutal war erupted between the elite houses. Kion's own House of Arabian clashed with the Zahar family. It was a bloodbath. Out of 3,000 Arabian knights, nearly a third were slaughtered on the battlefield. Over 900 souls vanished. Worst of all, every single person Kion held dear was among the fallen. His wife, his son, gone. He was the sole survivor. In a way, Terran's mother was spot on about the tragedy. A knight's life can be snuffed out more pointlessly than a peasant's. But Kion has one major disagreement. She was wrong about Tehran's raw aptitude. As Tehran looks on confused, Kion compares their vastly different abilities. Kion is just an average knight, yet Terran effortlessly crushed a beast that nearly killed him. Tehran's ceiling isn't just high, it's noble tier. He possesses the kind of elite talent seen only in the upper echelons. Terran mentions his mother claimed his father was a knight, but he's starting to suspect that was all a facade. Kion explains that genetics are a gamble. Some nobles father weaklings, while humble knights can produce absolute prodigies. Extraordinary power can bloom anywhere. You need to leave this hill, Kion advises, with a grave look. When Terran asks why, Kion warns that humanity is desperate for true protectors. They aren't the top predators anymore. Ancient races exiled by the gods are lurking in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike back. While darkness gathers, petty nobles continue their senseless infighting. This is why the world needs someone like Tehran. They need strength tempered with kindness. Kion pauses at the door, tossing one final life-changing question. Are you truly content herding sheep? Terran falls silent, contemplating his future before finally looking up. What's waiting for me down there? Terran asks. Kion smirks. Whatever, you're bold enough to seize for yourself. From legendary fame to a new family, it's all within his reach. As Kion steps out, the possibilities linger. He could be a wandering monster hunter, an explorer charting the unknown, or something even more legendary. He could even be scouted by a great house and claim real power. Tehran follows him, realizing Kion is right. Chasing destiny in the wide world sounds much more exhilarating than chasing sheep on a lonely hill. For the first time, Tehran's curiosity is piqued. On the flip side, Kion has one more observation. He might be pushing his own expectations onto the boy, but he promises to back Terran with everything. He'll support him until the end. Suddenly, Kion asks about his bloodline ability. Tehran just looks at him clueless. Kion laughs, apologizing for the info dump. He forgot Tehran is a complete novice when it comes to magic. He explains that bloodline abilities are divine traits inherited from their legendary ancestors, the Freyans. This singular trait is the wall between common knights and true nobility. Kion asks if any magic felt effortless. Did a specific spell just click, or does he possess a natural talent that defies explanation? Tehran mentions his sharp sense of smell and his knack for throwing stones. Kion's eyebrows shoot up in surprise. That superhuman sense of smell, that's a bloodline trait. And throwing weapons, that's a signature House Arabian skill. It's common, but Kion is hooked. He urges Tehran to reveal every hidden talent he's been keeping secret. Tehran catches the shift in Kion's gaze, a coldness he hadn't seen before. When pressed, Kion finally spills the truth. He's finally narrowed down Tehran's lineage. Which house is it? Tehran demands, his voice turning into ice. The answer is House Zahar, one of the great houses that drenched House Arabian in blood during the war. The name hits Tehran like a physical blow, instantly explaining Kion's sudden surge of hostility. He's the kin of Kion's sworn enemy. Paralyzed by guilt, Tehran searches for words that just won't come. An apology lingers on his tongue, but he realizes these atrocities were committed by a family he's never known. To him, they're just strangers, sharing his blood. Seeing the turmoil in Tehran's eyes, Kion steps closer. He drops a hand on Tehran's shoulder, dismissing the tension. You weren't there. This isn't your sin to carry. Tehran tries to protest, but Kion cuts him off. Seeking vengeance with more violence only breeds an endless cycle. Washing blood with blood only leads to eternal conflict. Haunted Tehran asks if Kion regrets his advice. Kion knows that if Tehran chases power in the world below, he'll inevitably be drawn back to the Zahars. Despite the risk, Kion bets on Tehran's soul. Confused, Tehran can't grasp why Kion would trust him so blindly. It's your innate kindness, Kion explains, recalling how Tehran risked everything to save him from that beast. Tehran bared his secret identity, a truth hidden for years. Kion sees a glimmer of hope in this revelation. If a man like Tehran takes the throne of Zahar, he could shatter the cycle and stop the next war. Turning to depart, Kion tells him to clear his head and not overthink the weight of his lineage. After all, the choice to embrace the Zahar name is still entirely in Tehran's hands. Wait, Tehran calls out. His path is finally clear. He's descending the mountain. Kion nods in approval, but Tehran isn't leaving just yet. He's staying until the job is done. I'm leaving once you're healed, Tehran insists. Stunned, Kion realizes Tehran is truly one of a kind. Later, Kion breaks down the fundamentals. Magic requires mana, the so-called key to absolute power. But it's not literal godhood. True magic requires a perfect resonance between the caster and their energy. Without the right match, the spell fails. Curious, Tehran asks how one even measures that standard. Kion explains that 3 pillars dictate the complexity of any spell you cast. Behold the three pillars: bloodline, affinity, and causality. First, let's talk about the power within your veins. Your lineage defines your potential, a rule that governs most highborn nobles who aren't frontline knights. For instance, Turan would struggle to cast high-level healing spells. He lacks the Ravista bloodline from the south. Those prodigies can mend flesh without even trying. Second is affinity, basically how at home you feel with an element. A mage excels at what feels natural, like when Keon hurls a fireball as easily as tossing a pebble. Turan agrees. If he tried to conjure those flames, he'd never match that raw speed or intensity. Then there's causality, the most enigmatic pillar that even Keon hasn't fully mastered yet. What if I tried to end you using pure mana alone? Keon asks. Turan guesses a mere flash of light. Exactly, Keon nods. That fizzle is what happens when you ignore the laws of causality. He hovers a hand over a cup, making the water boil and churn violently. This chaos erupts when you demand an outcome, without providing a logical path to reach it. Turan catches on fast. To take Keon down, he shouldn't just wish for death with mana. He needs to manifest a projectile like a fireball, to serve as the lethal cause of that death. Turan mimics the flow, igniting a small flame over the cup to test the theory. It's more efficient to weaponize nature than to force a miracle through sheer willpower. Impressed by Turan's sharp mind, Keon jokes that he's better suited as a professor than a mage. Turan can already command beasts, but he wonders why magical creatures are bound by these same laws. It's all in the mana, Keon replies as they spiral into a deep technical debate on arcane mechanics. Finally, Keon reveals the Zahar secret, a specialized magic tailored for ultimate stealth and ruthless tracking. Urged to test his blood's gift, Turan focuses his intent, vanishing with a silent wish to be unseen. Against all odds, Turan actually pulls it off. He flickers back into reality, leaving a startled Keon. Confessing how long it has been since he witnessed that power, Keon admits it is a truly terrifying skill. In fact, it was the one technique the Arabian Knights dreaded above all else during the Great War. But do not get cocky. Keon warns that despite its raw power, this ability is far from invincible. As Keon offers more advanced magic training, Turan hesitates, questioning why he would help a rival family's mage. Keon simply reminds him of their shared past. He saved Turan's life and genuinely trusts his heart. With that bond sealed, Turan descends toward the village to settle his final business with the locals. He drops a bombshell. He is selling the flock and bouncing. His bags are already packed and ready. The village chief absolutely loses it, demanding to know why Turan did not consult the elders first. Turan could not care less. He tells them to find a new shepherd, since his life is not their business. He demands a fair price for the sheep. If they refuse, he will just unleash the entire herd. They can try to round them up themselves, but Turan knows they do not stand a ghost of a chance. Recovering that many loose animals would be a nightmare, and Turan makes sure they know it. Fuming but cornered, the chief realizes Turan is not bluffing. Pissing off this mage is a death wish. With a heavy sigh, the chief coughs up the gold, telling Turan to just get lost. As the duo hits the road, Turan realizes the villagers still owe Keon a massive debt for protection. Keon waves it off. Since Turan was the one who actually slayed the beast, the reward is irrelevant. Eventually, they reach a crossroads. Keon stops announcing that this is where their paths finally diverge. He declines the offer to travel together, preferring his solitude. Turan understands, nodding with a small smile. He offers a final thanks for the lessons. They exchange farewells, hoping destiny brings them together again. Watching Keon vanish, Turan feels a strange ache. He finally recognizes his hidden longing for a father. Venturing deeper into the scorching desert, Turan spots a sketchy group looming on the horizon. Could they be traveling merchants? Turan decides to take a chance and approach them for a map. The strangers tense up, sensing a challenge, but Turan quickly clarifies he is just a lone traveler. He asks for the nearest city. A scarred man with an eye patch points back toward the path to Murai. Turan offers his gratitude for the info and moves to pass them, ready to reach civilization. But the scarred man blocks his path. Nothing in this desert is free, kid, he sneers. He demands a toll. Suddenly, the entire gang draws their weapons, completely encircling the young mage. The realization hits him like a brick. These are not merchants, they are ruthless bandits looking for blood. The leader mocks him, claiming nobody will miss a corpse in this wasteland. He demands Turan's gear. Hand it over and live, he suggests. But Turan just smirks, catching the entire crew off guard. Since you are just trash, Turan muses, I will use you for combat practice. A wicked grin spreads. That cold look sends a shiver through the gang, but they charge anyway, convinced he is just talk. With a lazy flick of his wrist, a violent gale erupts, slamming the bandits backward. Turan is stunned. He barely used any mana, yet the impact was devastating. The bandits collapse, gasping in sheer agony. Unfazed, Turan uncaps his water gourd. He manipulates the liquid, hardening it into lethal shimmering arrows. The projectiles shred through a bandit's flesh. Still, Turan feels underwhelmed. He expected more raw force. Realizing they have messed with a monster, the leader drops to his knees, begging for mercy. He promises anything to stay alive. But it is a trap. The remaining bandits sneak up behind Turan. As they lunge for the kill, Turan violently stomps the earth. The desert floor suddenly screams. Jagged sand spikes erupt, skewering the attackers instantly. The horrified leader watches his men die in seconds. Turan looms over him with a single question. The broken leader stammers, ready to spill everything. Why attack blindly? Turan asks. Did you not consider that I might be a powerful mage? The leader explains that Turan acted too humble. He bowed and stayed polite even when insulted. Because of his respectful greeting, they pegged him as an easy mark. Turan simply thanks him for the lesson. The bandit leader whimpers for his life, desperately hoping Turan's newfound wisdom comes with a side of mercy. He looks up, staring into the face of his own end. Turan recalls Kiorn's cold command, never grant mercy. Bandits are parasites who thrive on the pain of others. Turan realizes some monsters wear human faces and must be cut down. Pitying a wolf only leads to more slaughtered sheep. Turan turns his back on the carnage and prepares to move out. He follows the trail the bandits left behind, but the weight of his first kills begins to sink in. The guilt stings, yet Kiorn's warning echoed in his mind. There was no room for hesitation with these predators. After trekking through the desolate wastes and brooding over his mentor's words, a brand new world finally unfolds before him. From the cliffs, he spots the city of Murray. Stepping inside, the sheer mass of the crowd hits him like a wave. The sea of humanity is overwhelming, and the towering alien architecture leaves him absolutely breathless. Everything is a far cry from his humble village. Finally, the realization sinks in. He's actually made it to the city. Approaching a fruit stall, Turan offers a polite greeting. The merchant immediately sizes him up as a potential sale. Turan clarifies he's not there for snacks. He's following Kiorn's advice, find a safe place to sleep first. He asks for the nearest inn, but the vendor's face sours instantly. No money means no help. The seller snaps at him to beat it. Turan is taken aback by the man's sudden biting hostility. His hospitality locked behind a paywall. Turan sighs, points at an apple, and asks for the price. It's 2 dupit. When Turan pulls out his coins, the merchant instantly flags him as a clueless outsider. He accepts the payment anyway. Before handing over the cash, Turan pushes once more for the inn's location. The man points down the road past the cape shop. Look for the massive building with the blue roof, he grunts. Following the directions, Turan reaches the city's grandest inn, where a woman named Lena greets him. A room costs 16 dupit. Turan pays up, but he's got more on his mind than just a bed. He leans in, asking if there are any high-value monsters lurking nearby with a bounty on their heads. Lena blinks in confusion, unaware that Turan needs to hunt monsters to feast on their mana. Beyond the power boost, Kiorn promised that hunting beasts is the best way to get rich. Lena stays silent, judging him. When he asks why she's quiet, she reminds him that information isn't free. A little coin finally loosens her tongue. She directs him to the city hall. Since Turan is clueless, she explains it's the hub for all public business. The Lord's officials run the place, but she warns him that the doors are likely barred for the night. Tomorrow is the day to hunt for bounties. That's when the monster contracts are posted for the public. Lena asks if he's a professional hunter. Turan's blank stare prompts her to explain a well-known local legend. They say if a commoner slays enough monsters, they can ascend to wizardry. She figures that's Turan's ultimate goal. Suddenly, a seasoned hunter named Maidan appears behind him, confirming Lena's words are absolute stone-cold facts. The two seem like old acquaintances, and Lena looks like she's just seen a ghost. She's shocked he's still breathing. Maidan scoffs, claiming he won't kick the bucket until he's a full-fledged wizard. Turan's interest is instantly piqued. Turan begs for details. Maidan explains the grind, killing monsters equals gaining power. It's a path open to everyone. Even a nobody can reach the pinnacle of magic through combat. Maidan's crew is currently out there chasing that dream. Turan asks if anyone's hit the jackpot yet, but Maidan admits they're all still just regular humans. Only the Lord and his 3 subordinates hold the title of wizard here. Maidan looks Turan over and laughs at him. He mocks Turan's ragged clothes and lack of a sword. Turan just smiles and insists he's packed for a fight. He whips out his sling. Maidan's eyes widen at the wear. This kid has clearly put in some serious work. Turan confirms it's his go-to weapon, perfect for launching egg-sized projectiles with lethal speed. Maidan suggests hunting small fry, like foxes or rabbits. He mentions his crew is actually looking for a sharpshooter. They need some ranged support. Maidan formally invites the rookie to join their hunt and test his skills. As expected, Turan politely turns him down, though he genuinely appreciates the veteran's offer. Later that night, Turan collapses into bed, his mind racing through the absolute chaos of his first day. He mulls over the strangers he's met, and the harsh, eye-opening truths of the world beyond his village. The journey has only just begun. Ahead lie mountains of challenges and a desperate hunger to grow stronger. Uncertainty weighs on him. He never truly believed he'd leave his childhood village behind for this unknown future. Turan hones his mana until his senses spike. Someone is lingering outside. He instantly bolts upright from his bed. He demands an identity. Kiorn's warning rings out, never lower your guard, especially when you think you're safe. City life is treacherous, even behind inn walls. Taran readies his power, bracing for a potential ambush. He flings the door open only to find Lena. She starts chirping airheaded questions as if he were dreaming. Lena offers to keep him warm, claiming the room is too chilly. Taran is left standing there, totally baffled. When he asks for clarity, she makes her intentions crystal clear with a suggestive gesture. No mistaking that. Taran is still clueless. Lena doubles down, whispering that she'll fulfill any desire for a small fee, of course. He kills the mood instantly. And what if I don't want anything at all, he asks, stone-faced. She grabs his shoulders, smirking. Don't play coy. I can see the hunger written all over your face. Taran's gaze turns icy. He remembers Kiorn's grim warning, never get tangled up with these city girls. They're walking biohazards. Even if a wizard's body resists disease, he'd still become a carrier for the next woman. Kiorn's lesson was clear: don't let temporary lust lead you into a lifelong trap of bitter regret. He shuts her down hard. As she stomps away, fuming, Taran realizes just how complicated city life really is. First, the shady fruit vendor, and now this. This urban jungle is on a whole different level of chaotic. He collapses onto his bed. In this place, even human connection has a price. This city is truly heartless. Elsewhere, Madan's crew is skeptical. Why the interest in that kid? He looks like a total weakling to us. He's got a big mouth. Maybe he'd make good monster bait, they jeer. But Madan cuts them off. He reminds me of my younger self, Madan admits. He's actually worried about that flimsy gear Taran's using. Madan wants to keep the kid close, just so he survives the night. The crew is floored by his kindness. They're stunned by their boss's soft heart. Little do they know Taran is listening to every single word. A faint smile plays on his lips. Maybe this concrete jungle isn't as cold and heartless as he feared. At dawn, Taran visits the hall and encounters a prickly official. Sign me up for monster hunting, he demands. The man's dismissive silence triggers a memory of Kiorn's warning, the world won't ever play nice with you. Why won't it be kind? Taran asked. Because it has no reason to be, Kiorn answered with brutal honesty. The only way to earn respect is to flex your magic. Make them realize you're a wizard, and they'll bow. The official shoves a manual toward him. Taran scans the page, identifying his target, a terrifying monster crow. Bring back the carcass, the man barks. He warns Taran that failing to handle the mana properly has consequences. Leave the mana inside and you'll create a wraith. Taran just nods. He's already mastered these basic survival rules. The penalty for negligence is death. Taran stays calm. Don't your precious knights handle these threats, he asks. Knights don't have time for pests, the man scoffs. They're busy maintaining order, not cleaning up monsters. Knights play hero inside the walls, while the dangerous dirty work outside is reserved for outsiders like Taran. Ignoring the official's blatant disrespect, Taran turns and leaves. It's time to let his power do the talking. The official marks him for death, but moments later, Taran returns dragging a monster crow with a massive crater in its chest. The room goes dead silent. They're floored not just by his survival, but by how intact the carcass is. Was this a solo job, they stammer? Yes, Taran replies bluntly. He's not interested in their pathetic questions. Just give me the bounty, he says. An official scrambles to the counter, handing over the coins with shaking hands. You should rest. You must be drained, they stammer. Inside, they're still reeling from his terrifyingly efficient kill. It was a surgical strike. The monster is in pristine condition. The rude official from earlier returns looking pale. He spots Taran still standing there. What now, he asks. Taran just wants to know if there's more prey. Got anything else worth my time? Taran asks. The officials are speechless. How does he still have the energy? Does this kid even know fatigue? 3 days in, and Taran has already systematically slaughtered 30 more monsters. Lena serves him the house special. I bet your pockets are overflowing with gold by now, she teases. Gold is just a bonus, Taran replies. His real prize is the monster's mana, the fuel for his ultimate growth. With every kill, his power surges. He can feel it, his mana reserves have expanded to a whole new level. Thinking back to Kion, he realizes bottom-tier mana has reached its limit. It's time for an upgrade. Taran clears his plate in record time, questioning if he had help devouring that massive feast. Nope, it was all him. He throws the chef a thumbs up, praising the absolute banger of a meal. Flattered, the chef promises an even better dish next time, as Taran turns to head upstairs. Suddenly, one of Midan's goons snatches his shoulder aggressively, demanding a fat stack of cash. They've smelled his recent profits. Taran doesn't waste breath on words. He just delivers a soul-shaking backhand. The group stands frozen in disbelief before another lackey lunges, swinging a desperate fist at him. He weaves effortlessly, countering with a precise strike. Infuriated, the first guy charges with a heavy stool. Taran parries the blow, launching the man backward with a simple flick. Then Lena's furious scream pierces the air. She bans brawling in her inn. Later, a humbled Midan appears at Taran's door, bowing low in apology. He offers his deepest regrets, claiming he's already dealt with the 2 idiots who caused the scene. He swears it won't happen again, admitting his crew has been struggling to survive lately. Seeing Turan's massive gains triggered their envy. Medon snaps at his men, ordering them to beg for forgiveness. They obey instantly. Turan asks if things are truly that dire, and Medon admits their time is running out. In 3 days they'll be homeless. Suddenly, Turan tosses him a heavy coin pouch, leaving Maidan speechless. A stunned Maidan asks why. Turan simply calls it a return on the kindness he was previously shown. He hadn't forgotten Maidan's genuine concern. Hearing this, the man is completely floored by Turan's generosity. Maidan wonders how he knew, but Turan remains silent. After all, every favor comes with a price tag. He demands intel instead. Beaming with gratitude, Maidan promises to deliver the best leads he's got. He'll spill everything. Intel is his specialty. Sunrise finds Turan heading out for one final hunt. With Medon's guide to the next city in hand, it's finally time to move on from this place. The road beckons. As it turns out, the intel Maidan provided was absolute gold for his journey. Maidan lacks Kion's experience, but his heart is surprisingly pure. He's a rare breed of kindness in this world. Suddenly, a sharp metallic scent hits him. He sprints toward the source, praying his instincts are wrong. He reaches the clearing only to find a pool of fresh blood. But the horror doesn't stop there. Yesterday's attacker lies mangled nearby. Then his heart sinks. Medon's lifeless body is sprawled on the cold earth. As Turan reels, a dying survivor gasps for breath, desperately trying to convey what went down. A rabbit monster. He wheezes. Turan spins around, meeting the cold gaze of the killer. The beast lunges with terrifying velocity. Turan barely evades the lethal strike by a hair's breadth. He fires a stone from his sling, but the creature tilts its head, dodging the shot effortlessly. Reality hits. This monster is a pro at countering long-range attacks. He'll need a different strategy. As it lunges again, Turan vanishes into thin air, leaving the predator striking nothing but empty space. Reappearing like a ghost, Turan drives a jagged dagger deep into the monster's jugular. Even wounded, it lashes out, throwing Turan back. The beast doesn't hesitate for a single second. It presses the attack, forcing him back into shadows. Enraged, the beast begins tearing the forest apart. It shreds trees like paper, frantically hunting for its invisible prey in a blind, violent frenzy. Finally, its strength fails. One last shriek and it collapses. Turan steps forward to claim its mana. This energy is on another level. It's far more potent than anything he took from the leopard. The lone survivor stares in awe. "You're a wizard," he stammers, unable to believe his eyes. Turan nods, ignoring the man's questions about why he'd keep such immense power a secret. He asks if anyone is left to receive their things. The man just shakes his head. They're all alone. Turan recalls Medan's words from last night, describing the grand spires of a city called Aurum. Home to a legendary library of thousands, it's a sanctuary reserved strictly for elite magic users. After a somber burial, Turan sets his sights on Aurum, wishing Medan peace in the afterlife. Upon entering Aurum's gates, he finally realizes why his previous stop was considered a mere village. Aurum's gates are legendary for their size, yet even he's stunned by the massive swarm of people flooding the entrance. As Terran approaches, he figures the guards are hunting for outlaws, standard procedure for a city this high profile. This place is top tier, but just as he's about to step inside, a guard blocks his path. The guard scoffs, banning him from entry because his clothes look like they've been dragged through a dumpster. He's told to go clean up his act first. After a quick dust-off, Terran finally makes it past the gates. He tracks down the Great Library, and the sheer scale is insane. This isn't just architecture, this is pure magic. Gatekeepers halt him again, claiming this sanctuary is for mages only. Turan simply coolly states that he fits the bill. The guards lose it, thinking he's some low-rent fraud. One soldier reaches out to physically shove him back. Suddenly, the guard's hand trembles. Turan remembers Curran's lesson: true mages can always sense their own kind. One whiff of another's mana is enough to tell you if you're facing a predator or prey. Turan's crushing pressure sends the guard collapsing to the floor, leaving his partner spiraling in total confusion. He plays it off, but internally he's terrified. This guy isn't just a wizard, he's a monster. Terran's power screams high-tier nobility. The guard quickly scrambles up and introduces himself as Kenya. As a knight of House Voltas, Kenya asks for Turan's lineage, but Turan isn't playing ball. Identifying isn't mandatory, but entry requires the seal of approval from the Lord of Voltas himself. Kenya decides to escalate this and contacts the main house immediately. What started as a library trip fast-tracks Terran straight into the heart of the prestigious Voltas mansion. He's escorted to a massive bath where maids begin scrubbing him down, making him feel incredibly awkward. He tries to take over, but the maids panic if they don't serve him perfectly. Their heads are on the block. Not wanting them to suffer, Turan just sighs and lets them do their thing. Once dressed in high-end threads, his glow-up is so insane, the maids are literally starstruck by his visuals. He tells them it's all good, but they beg him to use formal speech. Nobles shouldn't be this chill. Turan's losing his mind over the etiquette. Soon he's face-to-face with the house's feisty young lady. Enter Azella, a fiery redhead. She demands his family name, but Taran keeps his cards close to his chest. He stays mysterious, which catches her off guard. But she's already cooking up a plan. To test this mysterious guest, she decides to prank him by suddenly flaring her spiritual pressure. She dares him to match her power, as a brilliant yellow aura begins to radiate from her. Taran responds with a cold blue aura. The sheer weight of his presence is absolutely suffocating. Everyone in the room is forced to their knees. Impressed, Azella casually asks him to put a ring on it. Taran's face turns into a block of ice. Even the butler has to step in and tell her to chill. She claims it was just a prank, bro, but then whispers for him to actually consider the offer. Once she leaves, Taran notices his hand is trembling. That girl was no ordinary mage. Her mana reserves are actually on his level. Next stop, the big boss, Patriarch Rug Valtis. Rug welcomes him, already briefed on Taran's quest to access their massive collection of knowledge. He warns Taran that there are no legendary spells or secret hacks to boost his mana stored inside. Taran shrugs it off. He wasn't looking for a power-up anyway, so it's all good. Rug gives the green light. Since there are no state secrets hidden there, he's free to browse. Everything is public record. But since it's getting dark, the library tour has to wait. Rug invites him back tomorrow morning, and Taran offers a respectful nod for the hospitality. Next morning, the guards treat him like royalty once they spot his official library pass. Taran steps inside and is instantly hit by the sheer grandeur of the massive hall. While he's taking it all in, a little kid suddenly pops up out of nowhere. Turns out this tiny sprout is the librarian, and he's ready to lay down the law. Taran is low-key shook, a literal toddler running the most prestigious library in the city. Rule number 1, don't break anything. If you do, you're paying for it with more than just gold. Secondly, taking books out is strictly forbidden. The boy warns he'll be watching Taran like a hawk. He promises to keep a close eye, but Taran asks for some personal space to read in peace. Since the kid is a librarian, Taran asks if he's a fellow bookworm. He nods, ready to help. He offers to find anything, asking if Taran wants spicy romance or dusty history books. Taran declines, stating he just needs Lore 101, a basic guide to how this world actually works. The boy brings a massive stack of ancient, outdated relics, doubting they'll actually be useful. He eventually finds a better set. Taran thanks him, diving into what looks like a treasure trove. The content is breathtaking. As Taran flips a page, the sheer quality feels like a divine welcome. He's instantly hooked. Reading becomes his new daily grind, an addictive routine he never breaks. Soon Taran masters world geography, the hierarchy of races, and even the laws of wizardry. He even uncovers the secret blueprints for how legendary items are manufactured and processed. Every new fact clears the fog, turning the unknown world into a vivid, high-definition reality. Days later, Rug summons Taran. He's impressed by how much of a model student he's been. Rug reminds him that library access is a noble favor, a sign of his immense goodwill. But there's no free lunch. Rug demands payment, and Taran calmly asks for the price tag. A monster is terrorizing the northern roads. Rug wants Taran to hunt the beast down. 4 knights already vanished, trying to kill it. None of them ever made it back alive. He needs a noble's power, but the Valtis house is low on manpower. Taran senses a trap. Protecting people is a wizard's duty, sure, but something about this request feels incredibly sus. The trade route has been choked for 10 days. The city's economy is literally bleeding out. Taran realizes the crisis started long before he arrived. Library access was just a calculated bribe. The hunting party gears up. Among them is Azella, looking as unimpressed as ever. She's already complaining, annoyed that her father forced Taran onto their elite team. Marvin Valtis joins the squad as they march into the dark, suffocating depths of the forest. Marvin asks if he's simping for Azella. Taran's cold no leaves the guy visibly relieved. They stumble upon a totaled carriage. The carnage is clearly the work of the beast they're tracking. While soldiers sniff around, Taran's sixth sense kicks in. He's already caught the scent. He identifies the monster as a monkey. Azella scoffs, demanding to know how he's so sure. Taran points to a massive handprint. The ape crushed the carriage before retreating into the brush. He tells them they can end this quickly if they just follow the monster's mana trail. Azella and Marvin lack the stats for tracking magic. Taran realizes he has to carry the team. He prepares to scout. Azella is stunned she didn't realize his bloodline possessed such rare gifts. Snatching a scrap of cloth from the wreckage, Taran locks onto the beast's unique mana signature. He leads them straight to a stream. Suddenly, the trail goes cold at the water's edge. The beast washed off its scent. Azella is shook. A mere animal shouldn't be this calculating. Taran plays it cool, suggesting the monster might have just wanted to take a swim. Suddenly, the foul stench returns. Taran's eyes widen as he screams a frantic warning. Behind us, out of the shadows, a colossal, terrifying primate emerges, ready for slaughter. The monkey hurls boulders like high-velocity missiles. They tear through the air with lethal speed. Knights are cut down instantly. Taran dodges, but notices Azella and Marvin using humans as shields. Disgust washes over him. His mother was right, these nobles are nothing but cowards. The monster tries to flee, and a desperate Azella orders the remaining knights to charge. As the beast slips away, a stone whistles past Azella's ear with the speed of a bullet. It shatters the formation and tears through the monkey's torso, pinning it to the dirt. Azella and Marvin spin around in total shock. Turan just one-shotted the beast with a pebble. With the beast pinned, Azella channels her inner pyromaniac, incinerating the creature in a relentless storm of flames. The sheer heat ripples through the forest. Meanwhile, Turan watches genuinely stunned by the display. He finally witnesses the legendary Voltes bloodline in action, a clan of true fire starters. Once the monkey is crispy, Azella confesses that seeing those stones fly gave her actual chills. But as she and Marvin bicker like siblings, the mangled knights are howling in agony. Azella just snaps at them to toughen up, ignoring one guy's severed arm. While the squad patches up, the survivor's Turan stands apart, lost in thought. He's relieved no one died, but a dark realization settles in. Even with the ambush, these injuries were totally avoidable. It's clear Marvin and Azella are leagues above these soldiers, yet they shamelessly use the weaker men as human shields. Marvin catches Turan's cold stare, asking what's on his mind. Turan brushes it off with a lie. Then Azella invites him to help harvest the mana. Turan joins the circle and the three of them begin draining the beast's core. Turan recalls reading that sharing a mana source doesn't actually dilute the power gained. Suddenly, Marvin and Azella tap out, hitting their absolute saturation point. To their shock, Turan is still going strong, soaking up energy like a sponge. Azella finally gets why her father sent him. His mana reserves and spell control are reaching her level. It's honestly terrifying, considering Turan is a noble who hasn't even hit his peak growth yet. Back at the fortress, Marvin gives Turan props, admitting they couldn't have bagged the monster without his assist. Turan stays humble, playing it down as nothing major. Deep down though, he's kicking himself for missing the signs and letting the monster land a cheap shot. Plus, he didn't expect the beast to possess high-tier detection skills. Seeing their confusion, Turan drops some knowledge, explaining how a monster's evolved traits reveal its hidden powers. He points out that their kill had unnaturally massive hands and eyes, despite its warped appearance. Turan concludes it likely unlocked super strength for throwing projectiles and a telescopic vision that could pierce through the dense woods. Marvin is floored by his tactical genius. Turan just mentions he spent time studying a bestiary in the library. Marvin looks at him like he's crazy. No one visits that dusty place. Azella admits she tried once as a kid out of curiosity, but she bailed before finishing a single page because the books were way too dense. Turan suggests they should just ask the librarian for some beginner-friendly reads next time. Azella is totally baffled. She's never heard of a librarian there. Later, Turan heads back to the stacks, and a figure greets him with creepy enthusiasm. Looking at the man, Turan realizes he's messed up, because this guy looks nothing like a normal staff member. Turan asks how he knows his name, catching him off guard. The entity claims he read it off Turan's permit, boasting he sees everything within these walls. When Turan asks for a name, the figure shrugs, telling him to pick whatever label he likes. Without a better option, Turan settles on librarian. The vibe gets instantly awkward. As the man starts dropping some very mature jokes, Turan wonders if he's from the old empire, but the entity scoffs. He reveals he was never human, but a spirit bound to the library itself. This physical form is just a projection based on the viewer's taste. Turan immediately protests, insisting this weirdo isn't his type at all. The spirit laughs, claiming he's a direct reflection of Turan's subconscious. To test this, Turan reaches out, and his hand passes right through the spirit's chest like smoke. The librarian sighs, frustrated he can't physically slap sense into the people using his building. Otherwise, he'd have punished every thief who walked off with a book. Turan realizes that literally nobody else knows this guy exists. The spirit confirms that until now, no one had the eyes to see him. His creator designed him to only manifest for those with high-tier mana perception. Essentially, Turan is the only one worthy of his presence. When Turan asks for specifics, the spirit brings up his bloodline. Turan demands answers about his heritage, but the librarian just smirks, telling him to go ask his parents. Cornered, Terran admits his orphan status to the librarian. He offers to investigate, but first he needs Turan's permission to probe his essence, and the boy nervously nods. The librarian plunges his hand into Turan's chest, uncovering the truth of the pursuer and hunter legacies. These traits belong to House Zahar. Suddenly he senses another hidden mixed power within. He reveals Turan is a hybrid of two clashing bloodlines. Turan demands to know the second origin. The librarian admits it is a mystery. It is locked. Apparently sealed bloodlines aren't that uncommon. He explains that it will unlock naturally as Turan evolves and gains more power. Turan finally confirms his gut feeling his mother was too sophisticated to be just a commoner. She likely had noble roots. Turan bows, offering his sincere gratitude to the ancient librarian. The librarian asks for one more month of his company. Turan agrees, diving back into the archives. His mentor never leaves his side. Whenever Turan is puzzled, the librarian drops pure wisdom. He is a living encyclopedia holding secrets lost to the world for thousands of years. Eventually, he starts teaching Turan the laws of nature, completely shattering his reality. Turan learns how microscopic monsters cause diseases and how living tissue decays. It is all caused by feeding germs. He even masters basic physics, like the refraction of light. He studies thermal friction and the cellular process of how wounds heal over time. A successful experiment on decay leaves him speechless. His new knowledge is actually working. His magic prowess skyrockets. He realizes great houses must be hoarding this knowledge on purpose. If every mage knew this, the elite would lose their edge. The librarian finally sees it. This is why magic has regressed. Suddenly, the month is up and Turan breaks the news. It is time to move on. The librarian is stunned, but Turan insists he must go. The world is calling to him. Heartbroken, the librarian lunges toward Turan in desperation. He begs to be taken along, but his ghostly hand passes right through Turan's body. He is bound to the library. He offers Turan everything to stay, but the boy refuses. Turan promises to visit later, mentioning the mountain of books he has yet to finish. He packs his gear and leaves the city, guided by a map from the library's collection. The map shows House Zahar's stronghold, the Enreal Desert, lies far to the east of Orum. He heads toward Zahar for answers. That night, he casually camps in the forest unhurried. Old clues won't run away. Along the journey, he effortlessly mops up any monsters in his path. The next day, he finds a loyal horse defending its master from two dark elves. The elves are fuming. Imagine being held back by a mere farm animal. They use necromancy. They resurrect local monster corpses. Turan stays hidden, observing their dark ritual from the brush. He hesitates. Was the unconscious man the aggressor? He doesn't want to save a villain. The elves start feasting on human remains while plotting how to kill that stubborn horse. Their cannibalism is the final straw for Turan. He activates stealth, disappearing into the shadows. With lethal precision, he flings a stone, decapitating one elf before he can even blink. The survivor panics, staring in horror at his friend's headless corpse. He frantically rallies his undead. Turan strikes again, but a massive bull monster intercepts him. Its armored skull blocks the hit. The beast then charges toward Turan's hidden position. It tears through trees like paper, but Turan is gone. The elf is losing his mind. He knows how deadly stealth users are, so he uses his beasts as living bait. Forced out of hiding, Turan unleashes a blazing fire attack on the approaching horde. One monster turns to ash, but the bull is already diving for his throat. Turan barely dodges the impact. These things are terrifyingly fast, faster than he expected. He thanks his lucky stars. He sniped the first elf already. Suddenly, agony flares. A monster clamps its jaws onto his heel from behind, dragging him into a desperate struggle. The beast's massive horns catch him off guard, launching his body like a rag doll. Turan hits a tree with a sickening thud, a guttural scream of agony escaping his lungs. Crimson splatters the dirt as he collapses, clutching his shattered ribs. Above him, the dark elf sneers, promising a slow, agonizing death before the final blow. Out of nowhere, the horse rears up and delivers a brutal kick straight to the elf's jaw, sending the arrogant warrior eating dirt. Desperate, the elf shrieks for backup, and the monsters swarm the brave stallion. Completely focused on the horse, they leave, Turan forgotten in the shadows. That lapse in judgment proves fatal. Turan surges forward with a devastating strike, cleanly decapitating the elf in one fluid, lethal motion. As the elf's life fades, his summoned beasts vanish into nothingness. Drained of every ounce of energy, Turan slumps down just as the horse trots over to nudge him. After a weary word of thanks to his four-legged savior, night falls. When the horse's master finally stirs, he's greeted by the sight of a mysterious warrior standing guard. Turan offers a calm nod, but the man recoils his hand, reaching for a weapon as he demands to know the stranger's identity. Explaining the situation, Turan mentions the dark elf ambush and his intervention. Right on cue, the horse approaches its master with a gentle whinny. Reunited with his companion, the man introduces her as Tilly. Turan can't help but admire the animal's loyalty and razor-sharp instincts. A true guardian of its master. Grateful for his life, the nobleman introduces himself as Assis, a member of the prestigious House Berg. After exchanging names, Turan probes for answers, wondering why someone of his status was wandering such dangerous territory. Assis explains that this was supposed to be a sacred pilgrimage alongside his loyal protectors, not a bloodbath. Without warning, the elves struck with mindless brutality. Assis admits he'd heard rumors of their savagery, but the reality was far more terrifying. Overwhelmed by the horror, tears stream down his face. He quickly tries to hide his grief, apologizing for his momentary lack of composure. The loss weighs heavy on his soul, prompting Turan to ask if those fallen warriors were blood relatives. They were more than just staff. They were the knights and attendants who had raised him since childhood. To Assis, they were the only family he knew. Sensing the man's genuine heart, Turan decides he can be trusted. Checking for remaining threats, Turan asks how many elves were involved. To his surprise, Assis confirms that the entire squad has been neutralized. Still on edge, Turan activates his detection skill, sweeping the dark woods for any lingering murderous intent or hidden shadows. Once the coast is clear, Assis asks about Turan's journey. It turns out they're both travelers on a spiritual path. Assis is visibly stunned. A warrior with such raw power usually isn't just a wandering pilgrim. He wonders if Turan hails from a legendary bloodline, but the swordsman keeps his secrets close, offering only a vague explanation for his solitude. Playing it cool, Turan insists he isn't that special, claiming his victory was just a lucky ambush and a desperate gamble. He gives Tilly half the credit for the save. Intrigued, both men flare their auras, testing the sheer weight of each other's presence. The display leaves Turan breathless. The sheer volume of mana swirling within Assis is absolutely massive for someone his age. He realizes that without the stolen power he took from the elves, Assis would actually dwarf him in pure magical capacity. Assis is certain he's looking at a hidden genius from a top-tier clan, someone with a terrifyingly high ceiling. Seeing that Turan's potential is still largely untapped, he can't fathom why such a talent would be traveling without a massive escort. With no set path ahead, Assis extends an invitation to the illustrious House of Berg, hoping to keep this powerhouse close. He promises to reward Turan handsomely, not just for the rescue, but for ensuring a safe journey back to his family's estate. When Turan asks about the prize, Assis reveals his lineage. They are masters of enchantment, the premier crafters of the realm. Serving the mighty House Al-Rabia, his ancestors have spent centuries forging legendary magic artifacts for the world's elite. In exchange for his life, Assis vows to forge a custom magic item that will make Turan truly unstoppable.